Bonsoir à tous et toutes. Good evening to you all. Welcome to McGill's first virtual production of Bravo, in celebration of our recent winners of research prizes and awards. Being here tonight, sharing this evening of celebration with you, even if it's only virtually, is truly an honor for me. Our annual Bravo Gala is an opportunity to reflect on how fortunate we are to be members of McGill's talented and purposeful community. An opportunity that feels all the more special and significant this particular year. Indeed, we have much to celebrate this evening. Among you are close to 200 winners of external research-related awards, memberships, and prizes in 2019 and in 2020. You come from across the university. You represent McGill's diverse research areas, departments, and faculties. Tonight, we also acknowledge an historic milestone, the founding of McGill, almost 200 years ago to this day, on March 31st, 1821. As we stand on the threshold of our third century, we reflect on McGill's first 200 years and envision what it will become in the next century. A milestone year like this is a wonderful opportunity to celebrate and to thank everyone who's made this event possible. I personally would like to thank our innovative researchers, their students, postdocs, and staff, all of whom are committed to ensuring McGill's research continues to achieve the highest levels of excellence. To the honorees, thank you for your brilliant successes. I encourage all of you here tonight to celebrate our awardees by sending your congratulation messages through our live chat or on Twitter using the hashtag Bravo2021. We have so many laureates to celebrate that unfortunately there's not enough time to highlight everyone's achievements individually. To give you a preview of what to expect in the next hour, we will premiere a short celebratory video highlighting 6 of our 2019 awardees. This will then be followed by an engaging panel discussion on conducting innovation research over the past year, moderated by the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences Bartha Canopers, featuring Professors Andrew Gonzalez, Nada Javado, and Miriam Denov. I invite you to stay tuned for appearances from some special guests and the unveiling of an exciting bicentennial project built around McGill researchers. The broadcast will conclude with a list of the names of all of our nearly 200 2019 and 2020 prize winners. So be sure to keep your eye out for your name and those of your colleagues. And now it's my pleasure to turn your attention over to our Principal and Vice Chancellor, Suzanne Fortier, to offer her congratulations to our prize winners.
Good evening and welcome. Bienvenue à cette version virtuelle toute spéciale du Gala Bravo. Wherever you are watching from tonight, we are pleased to have you with us as we celebrate you and your accomplishments. A special welcome to our distinguished guests from government and the tri-agency who are also joining us. Thank you for your continued support of research and innovation. In a year marked by global upheaval, one thing remains unchanged: the commitment to excellence demonstrated by McGill's researchers and scholars. It is my pleasure to honor members of the McGill community who received research prizes and awards in 2019 and in 2020. Last March, some of you had planned to join us for our traditional gala celebration at the Omni Hotel before the pandemic compelled us to transition to remote activities and postpone in-person events. I'm delighted that we can finally acknowledge your achievement with this virtual production. Throughout the pandemic, you have demonstrated both ingenuity and resilience. You have ensured that students continue learning and that research advances even at a distance. I believe our communities will emerge stronger than ever, thanks in part to the strength you have found to continue educating, exploring, and innovating. For all your efforts, I say bravo. En 2019 et en 2020, comme par les années précédentes, vous avez remporté bon nombre de prix, des prix les plus prestigieux de vos domaines à l'échelle provinciale, nationale et internationale. Qu'il s'agisse de bourses appuyant des chercheurs en début de carrière, au potentiel exceptionnel, ou de doctorats honorifiques soulignant l'ensemble des réalisations. Nous savons que derrière chaque prix se trouve un chercheur exceptionnel, ainsi que la famille, les amis, les collègues et les étudiants qui contribuent à son travail, le soutiennent et l'inspirent au quotidien. Ce soir, nous rendons également hommage à ces personnes qui apportent leur soutien. J'attends avec impatience le moment où nous pourrons de nouveau célébrer en personne. Mais surtout, j'ai hâte de connaître les nouveaux défis que vous relèverez et les innovations que vous apporterez dans l'avenir. Merci de m'avoir accueilli chez vous ce soir. Congratulations on your accomplishments.
Now it's time for a short video created last year, finally debuting this evening to celebrate the achievements of our 2019 winners.
My name is John Rea, and I'm an emeritus professor and former dean of music at McGill University. I'm also a composer whose catalog includes about 80 original works and several innovative reorchestrations. Now, while the art of orchestration involves writing music for an ensemble of instruments, reorchestration concerns a new or second rendering of those original colors, to which I also applied certain acoustical principles. The astonishing turn of the 20th century orchestral music by Ravel, Schoenberg, and Stravinsky inspired me, especially the refined knowledge contained within these works. Their assured perception of the interplay between tones, colors, and rhythms say, the way painters prompt in us the desire to see the play of light, shadow, and movement. I loved the dazzling, rich sound, almost deafening to me when I was young, of orchestral music's power, almost as if it were glare for the ears. And though my excitement distracted me then from focusing my attention, I had to learn and know how it was made.
I'm Daryl Haggard. I'm a professor in the physics department here at McGill University. The 2020 Breakthrough Prize in Fundamental Physics was awarded to the Event Horizon Telescope team for the very first image of a supermassive black hole. The Event Horizon Telescope is actually a worldwide network of telescopes. So there's individual telescopes in multiple different places around the world, and we link them together using electronics and software and correlate their signals together in order to get beautifully precise images of objects on the sky. It's 347 scientists who work together to bring this result to its fruition. It's an acknowledgement of the hard work of this entire collective of people from everywhere in the world. I will say that we are thinking very hard about how to make this even bigger. If you want a better image, you need a bigger telescope, and the only way to get bigger than the Earth is to put something in space. The engineering, the computer science, the astronomy, the telescope technologies, all kind of are converging and really making these new types of discoveries possible.
I'm Chandra Madramuthu, professor in the Department of Bioresource Engineering. My area of research is primarily in agricultural water management. I'm focused on about 3 or 4 objectives. One of them is to conserve water, given the challenges around fresh water availability. A lot of our work is also how we address and can reduce the amount of pollution that occurs in water resources off agricultural lands. We're all proud of being McGillians. We pride ourselves as being amongst the best in Canada and the world And one of the ways in which we achieve that recognition is to show that we have both faculty and students who are capable of being recognized by their peers for their outstanding teaching and research. In the case of the work we're doing, trying to protect the environment and to also ensure that we have a sustainable food system for the future.
Je m'appelle Cécile Rousseau, je suis pédopsychiatre au département de psychiatrie de l'Université McGill et membre de la division de psychiatrie sociale et culturelle. En termes de recherche, j'ai travaillé plusieurs décennies sur la question des enfants réfugiés. Donc il s'agit de comprendre comment des enfants qui ont vécu la guerre, comment est-ce qu'ils sont affectés et transformés par cette expérience de guerre et comment nous comme société, mais aussi comme système de santé, nous pouvons les aider à se reconstruire et finalement avoir une vie qui les comble et qui leur fait du bien. Pour moi, c'est vraiment un travail de recherche, c'est un travail de solidarité. Un travail de solidarité sociale, c'est un travail évidemment pour que des enfants et des familles aillent mieux, pour qu'ils puissent être plus heureux, pour qu'ils puissent guérir des très grandes souffrances que l'humanité provoque. En fait, ça nous rend de meilleurs humains. Donc c'est pas juste pour eux que nous le faisons, c'est aussi pour nous. Et comme société, je pense que c'est très important de développer ces solidarités-là.
My name is Victor Muñiz-Ferticelli. I'm a professor in the Faculty of Law and the Department of Political Science. I'm interested in the problem of authority within religious organizations, both questions of membership, questions of law, questions of power, and how different religious organizations try to ensure that their principles govern the organization and at the same time conform to the principles of law of the state. I think that the Academy is a global institution and McGill's reputation on the global stage is essential, not only to get the research that we're currently doing recognized, which is of course important at both personal level and because we want to have some effect with the research that we do. But also so that the world knows that great research is being done at McGill. The main purpose of these awards is to grow the institution, both by bringing people to it and also by expanding the impact of the research that it gives.
My name is Carmen Loisel, and I'm a professor in the Ingram School of Nursing and the Department of Oncology at McGill University. My area of research is cancer care. I specifically look at interventions that make a difference in the lives of people affected by cancer. I use different modalities, digital health, but also face-to-face interventions, and look at what impact it has on not only their experience with cancer, but the kind of healthcare services that they use to support them through their experience. I think that these awards and prizes are really important for our institution because in a world where our attention is often drawn away, recognition by McGill of our peers redirect attention to research activities and output that truly make a difference in this world.
We're now joined by Dr. Mona Niemer, Chief Science Advisor to Canada's Prime Minister, and Dr. Rémi Quirion, Scientifique en Chef de Québec, two friends and champions of McGill's research in science in Canada and Quebec.
Bonsoir tout le monde. It's my pleasure to join you in celebrating McGill's research community at this evening's Bravo 2021 Gala and to mark the 200th anniversary of our great institution. As a McGillian myself, I know well the incredibly supportive environment this institution provides to researchers. It has built its national and international reputation thanks to their excellence. C'est pourquoi il est si important que nos chefs de file de la recherche soient reconnus pour leur contribution à l'avancement des connaissances et à bâtir une société meilleure. This past year, we've seen researchers step up in unprecedented ways to fight the global pandemic. Many among you have provided governments and myself invaluable advice for which I am so grateful. And this was in addition to your contributions to research, scholarship, and training. La collaboration entre différents domaines et secteurs est essentielle pour relever les nombreux défis du présent et de l'avenir. Par ailleurs, cette collaboration renforce la confiance du public et leur appréciation de la science. Alors, encore une fois, bravo et toutes mes félicitations, chers collègues.
Bonsoir à tous et félicitations à tous les lauréats et lauréates pour la soirée Bravo de l'Université McGill. Great pleasure to be with you tonight. Rémi Quirion, Quebec Chief Scientist. I remember one of my first Bravo night when I was at McGill University. I was supposed to say a few words as Vice Dean of Research at McGill, but last minute, the famous neuroscientist Brenda Milner was unable to attend. They asked me to replace her. Ooh, replacing Brenda was a big thing for me. But finally, it was great fun. I summarized Brenda's career in a few words, mention a little bit about what I was doing in my team at the Douglas Hospital, and then we celebrated for the rest of the night. So again, tonight, congratulations to all, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Merci.
Up next on this evening's program is a panel discussion featuring 4 of our 2020 award recipients. They will share their experiences of dealing with often unexpected challenges in their pursuit of research excellence this past year.
Thank you, Dr. Crago, and welcome everyone to this very special, and if I must say so, unique edition of Bravo 2021. We have a conversation which we will present between 3 McGill researchers who I think exemplify the extraordinary quality of research at McGill University. And in particular, we'll be looking back on this year and looking forward, because I think it's been a year like none other, not only for ourselves as researchers, but also for McGill as a university. I'm Bartha Maria Knoppers. I'm the Canada Research Chair in Law and Medicine and the Director of the Centre of Genomics and Policy at McGill. Now, I have 3 special researchers, and the first joining me this evening is Miriam Denaub, who's full professor in the School of Social Work and a Canada Research Chair in Youth, Gender, and Armed Conflict. Her research addresses the lived experiences of children and families affected by war, migration, and intergenerational impact. A specialist in participatory research, she has worked with war-affected children and their families in Africa, Asia, and the Americas. In 2020, she was awarded the Killam Research Fellowship and the Shirk Impact Insight Award. Welcome, Miriam.
Thank you.
Also with us tonight is Professor Andrew Gonzalez, Professor and Lieber Aero Chair in Biodiversity Conservation in the Department of Biology. He investigates the causes and consequences of biodiversity change, rapid evolution, and the maintenance of biodiversity in anthropogenic environments. In 2020, he became a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada. Our third researcher is Dr. Nada Chubado, Professor in the Department of Pediatrics and Canada Research Chair in Pediatric Oncology. She's also a pediatric neuro-oncologist at the Montreal Children's Hospital. And she has pioneered a research program in pediatric brain tumors at McGill, while at the same time in that program identifying a new molecular mechanism, which has led to a complete shift in the treatment of children, their parents, and health professionals in therapeutic decision-making regarding genetic makeup of pediatric brain tumors. In 2020, Dr. Chubado was awarded the Dr. Chu Wee Memorial Prize in Cancer from the University of British Columbia. I must say, bravo on behalf of McGill. And let's begin with the first question. We have three questions. Each researcher will be answering a question in turn, and then we'll go on to the next one. So the first one is entitled Research in a Pandemic. How did you innovate in 2020 to face new challenges in research? What were the hardships or joys that you experienced in 2020? So Nada, we'll start with you.
I think COVID had the benefit, if I can use the term benefit in a pandemic and in a disaster as the one that we were facing these days, is that it had us more focused and actually so angry about what was happening outside that we needed science and discovery and other things to alleviate the pain and try and make sense of things that have no sense. So my people were way more focused. We were able to conduct a few experiments and people let us do them because we respected really very specific distanciation and whatever criteria. And still, I think this is what kept the morale.
Miriam, how did you find that analogy? Do you connect with that, with what Nada just said?
Very much. The challenges that I faced were a little bit different, though. So my work tries to make visible the gross human rights violations that children and families face during war. And so my research is very field-based. It's very on-the-ground work with children and families, which is really key to, and that sort of in-person contact is key to gaining that rapport, building trust with both individuals and families and communities. And so I never imagined that I would be able to actually build those relationships from afar or virtually. And another challenge that I was facing was that, and I continue to face, is related to communication. That the families and communities that I work with don't necessarily have any access to communication or technology. During the pandemic, I've been able to continue my research work with specifically a group of Rwandan youth through regular group meetings via WhatsApp. It's been quite a struggle, but we've been doing it regularly. And I think, honestly, that if we think about innovation, I think our innovation has come from incredible patience because there's constant voice delays, interruptions, connection problems, and a very short meeting ends up being extremely long because of having to constantly reconnect. Ultimately, though, my motivation comes from the youth themselves, who are incredibly engaged and committed. And despite all of these challenges, we've been able to continue to work together despite some of these challenges.
Andrew, what about yourself?
Yeah, mine has many similar themes, actually. My experience of 2020 was ultimately about partnerships. That it was... as a biologist, of course, and as somebody who studies biological diversity in nature, that became difficult to do with my research group. And so what we found ourselves doing was stopping and taking stock of what we knew. What knowledge had we learned over the last decade? And 2020 was a particularly difficult year for biodiversity science because it was a year that we realized that the global community failed to reach its biodiversity targets. And so we wanted to take stock of that whilst living through this extraordinary difficult pandemic and say, well, what do we do for the next decade? How can we better marshal and harness our understanding? And so that led to an international network forming that we decided to agree on what needed to happen for the next decade and how to work with the Convention on Biological Diversity and other international organizations to mobilize the scientific community. And to give you an example of a particularly joyful outcome for me and my colleagues, we made a bid to host the Secretariat for a global organization that's tasked with monitoring the health of nature around the world. It's called GeoBon. And we won the bid to bring that to McGill and to Montreal. And so now we have the Secretariat for GeoBon here, and I'm the co-chair of that international organization. And I have the great joy to work with people all over the world to try to achieve those targets that we've set, or will be set, for 2030. So that was a very positive thing that came from a dark place. And I think if we'd all stayed inward, if we'd all looked and stayed inward, we wouldn't have achieved ultimately that partnership that was going to be needed moving forward.
It's true. Huh? The climate change and biodiversity were so front and center, and then poof, March 11 pandemic, and so that's a way I think of all three of you describing hardships, but also the creativity that actually was born of having to sort of reinvent how we work and live. The second question is quite different. It's do these prizes and awards and acclamations and so on, do they, what difference do they make to your career or to how you see yourself or how you work? Or do they make any difference at all? We'll start with Miriam.
Well, of course, it's truly an honor to be recognized and to receive awards. But really, my work is very collaborative and involves youth. It involves local partners in Uganda and Rwanda and Cambodia. And so these awards are really shared with them. And I think that most importantly, the awards are a tribute to the remarkable and courageous war-affected children and families that I really have the privilege to work with on an ongoing basis. I think, though, that given that my work is so collaborative, for the youth that are involved in my projects, I think being recognized in this way shows them ultimately that their lives matter and that their voices are being listened to. And for me, that's an amazing experience for them in particular.
Yeah, for sure. It reflects on them as well. Andrew, what about you?
Oh, similarly, it was a great honor to be elected fellow of the Royal Society of Canada. To be recognized by your peers is always something remarkable. And I would say that it instantly changed my capacity to express my voice on an issue. That I was invited by the Royal Society of Canada to participate in a panel of national academies and Royal Societies to speak to prepare a report to the G7 economies on what were the major issues for our environment and what could we get right post-pandemic. And so that allowed me to engage with some remarkable people around the world and begin to craft a document, simple 3-4 page document that could be read by anybody, but in plain language allowed us to express what we felt was important. And in a way, being elected to the Royal Society of Canada gave me direct access to that kind of a forum. And that was remarkable.
Yeah, and you're missing the pomp and ceremony that such awards and names and naming and prizes usually give, but could have a more direct, immediate relationship. What about you, Nada? Sorry.
It comes to something that's dear to my heart, which is gender biases and stuff like this. I don't want any time that I get any award to double guess that I got it based on my gender. And this is something that's very important for me. I think, I have I have my track record and whatever, but I really want that the pendulum don't go far and that one day people will kind of point us and said, you got it because of your gender and because of those disparities. So it has to be quite clear that it is the person and their track record and not their gender or where they come from. And I agree that there are a lot of disparities and whatever, and we need to take that into account. But ultimately, it's the people and what they've done, and it's a teamwork. So even if it's one person, I go with you. Even if it's one person that's being recognized for me, this recognition is for my team and for the families and the patient that I treat that donated their brain tumor samples or anything without even hoping for anything to come their way. So it's being recognized. It shows that what they did hopefully matters and that we're changing really things and the outcome in those deadly cancer that I helped treat. But more than that, it's exactly like you said, Andrew. this gives you a voice. Once you get those awards, those recognition, people start listening. It's so funny that you need that for people to start listening to you, but they do. And then if you use it wisely and if you do this way, you can make even better changes and faster changes. And that's why those awards are important, not for the privilege and prestige and whatever, but what they actually, they give you even a better voice.
I really like your comments about why you're there. Are you representing, your gender? Are you representing being young? Are you representing where you come from? But are you representing your work, your scholarship, which is really what brings me to the third question. And I guess this is the most exciting one for researchers. What are you looking forward to over the next few years to do, unless you've decided that this is it, you're now leaving? But what's exciting in the future, Andrew?
I'm so excited about many things, from almost the mundane, which is getting out into nature again with an amazing research group of students and postdocs, and doing the experiments that we've done, for example, at McGill's Gold Reserve at Mont Saint-Hilaire, where we have a remarkable experimental infrastructure for studying, for example, how pesticides impact our fresh waters. That is something we had to stop immediately. We're in the middle of new discoveries about how, for example, pesticides that we put on our crops do accumulate in our freshwaters and affect the ecological health of our ecosystems and our biological diversity. And so we have a team that's chomping at the bit, trying to get back out again, and we're daring, fingers crossed, that we might be able to get out there again. But if it's not this year, then it'll be next year, and we'll be okay with that. I'm very hopeful that we're going to come out of this pandemic realizing what our priorities are, both globally, but also nationally and locally. And I'm really, really looking forward to carrying that.
Nada?
So the pandemic actually is a double-edged sword. It's bad in many ways, but there's one thing that it may have done is forced us a little bit more introspection and a kind of trying to see what are the priorities. Science is super exciting. There are so many things that are happening, the way that we could sequence stuff, even at the single level and whatever, so many different things. This has always been there, and it's almost like a rat race. You're getting more and more and more. But maybe what matters is really reconnecting in person, because places are made of people and the teams, and it's a teamwork. Even if virtually you could do a lot of things, there's nothing better than cementing it with like meaningful face-to-face. So I'm looking forward more human contact, amazing science, and actually having our young feel normal again.
How about you, Marian?
So I think we're all very much on the same page. I think, like you said, Nada, the pandemic has in many ways made us become very inward, introspective, and I think those are good things. But I'm really looking forward to travel. I'm looking forward to in-person contact with my research teams, my partners, my participants. And I believe that we're going to resume work with a greater appreciation of the nuance, the meaning, and the implications of this in-person contact.
We're all waiting for when this next new life will start. There's a lot of uncertainty. As researchers, I don't think we're lacking in ideas about what we want to do. The McGill being international, and most of us working internationally, we've sort of gone from being globe trotters to more global citizens because of the nature of the pandemic itself and realizing our interdependence. But boy, do I sure miss my colleagues, and boy, do I miss my team. And every week, you try to think of something that will keep their spirits up, and our students are often in isolation, or some of our colleagues too, we're really their family, and I can see why just the re-engagement of human contact whether it be in the university or with our colleagues across Canada and international. I don't miss the planes, but I sure miss that aspect of sharing in person and the trust and the long-term relationships that come from that, because that's how collaborations come, not just ideas, but also appreciating human beings in personam, if I can say that. Our three Bravo Prize winners and all the, as I said at the beginning, the number of awards is much larger than I was able to mention. I'd like to thank all three of you for your presentations and the depth of them, the sincerity, and also some of the vision that came out, I think, that continues to inspire others in the research community. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. And the Bravo ceremony will continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we are joined by some of the McGill research community's most significant supporters and advocates, the presidents of Canada's research tri-agencies.
Bonsoir à tous et à toutes. C'est un plaisir pour moi de participer à cette célébration de l'excellence à l'Université McGill. At the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada, we are proud supporters of excellence in discovery and innovation, with an emphasis on excellence. Nous sommes fiers d'appuyer le travail des Canadiennes et des Canadiens qui sont des chefs de file dans leur domaine et dont la recherche a des retombées partout dans le monde. By any measure, McGill University and its remarkable research community rank among the most excellent in our country has to offer. L'Université McGill est l'un des 5 principaux bénéficiaires du soutien du Conseil de recherche en sciences naturelles et en génie du Canada. Et le principal bénéficiaire dans la région du Québec et des Maritimes. And McGill's researchers are frequent winners of NSERC prizes, including our top honor, the Herzberg Gold Medal, won by Professor Victoria Caspi only a few years ago. Ces prix témoignent de l'excellence de ceux qui ont fait leur marque dans des domaines scientifiques et en ingénierie. Mais il ne faut pas oublier la médecine, les lettres, les sciences humaines et les arts. Tous des domaines dans lesquels les professeurs de McGill ont également acquis une renommée internationale. In short, tonight's awards are not just recognizing the finest at McGill, but some of the finest in the world. Je tiens donc à offrir, en mon nom et au nom du Conseil de recherche en sciences naturelles et en génie du Canada, mes plus sincères félicitations à toutes les personnes à qui nous rendons hommage aujourd'hui. Merci beaucoup.
Au nom du Conseil de recherche en sciences humaines, je félicite tous les lauréats et lauréates qui se sont distingués récemment. Vos réalisations s'inscrivent dans la longue tradition d'excellence en recherche de l'Université McGill et elles ont des répercussions importantes au Canada et ailleurs dans le monde. The COVID-19 pandemic has vividly brought to light the critical role that research plays in helping society to navigate through complex and pressing global challenges. McGill researchers, in tandem with those across Canada and internationally, have stepped up in an extraordinary way to address the current crisis, from vaccine development and personal protective equipment manufacturing to epidemiological tracking, mental health and wellness guidance, among so many other areas. I would also like to make special mention of Miriam Denoff, the Canada Research Chair in Youth, Gender and Armed Conflict in the School of Social Work at McGill, and the winner of SSHRC's prestigious 2020 Insight Award. Her groundbreaking research exemplifies the powerful contributions of social sciences and humanities research to improving lives around the world. Je vous remercie très sincèrement, vous tous et toutes qui travaillez sans relâche et avec détermination à des recherches qui enrichissent la qualité de vie des Canadiens et des Canadiens d'aujourd'hui et des générations à venir. Bravo.
Well, good evening. On behalf of the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, I wish to congratulate McGill University's world-class researchers on your outstanding achievements over the past year. The awards you have received recognize your commitment to the pursuit of excellence and are a testament to the many years of hard work that you have devoted to your studies, to your teaching, and to your research. We are all living through unprecedented times, and the global pandemic has been difficult for our research community, just as it has for the population at large. However, we can take comfort in knowing that when the pandemic first arrived at our shores, our country immediately turned to science and research for answers, as Canadians truly understand the power of research to provide evidence-based solutions to our most pressing challenges. Être un scientifique aujourd'hui n'a jamais été aussi gratifiant, malgré tous les défis que pose la crise actuelle. Je vous remercie pour votre contribution à notre pays et au reste du monde face l'adversité. Et vous souhaite le meilleur des succès pour votre projet à venir. Merci.
Now, please join me in thanking our panelists and the participants in the videos we've seen tonight. Before we unveil the new Bicentennial Project and display the names of prize winners, I would like to take a moment to remember two of our award winners who are no longer with us. Professor Emeritus Robert Carroll was appointed a member of the Order of Canada in 2019, and Professor Laurie Hendren posthumously received the 2020 Award for Lifetime Achievement in Computer Science. Their remarkable contributions and achievements to their fields and to McGill's research excellence will be long-lasting. I remain very grateful to every member of our community who nominated, promoted, and otherwise supported the success of the laureates we're honoring tonight. In particular, those in the Office of Sponsored Research. I extend a special thank you to Meredith Chapman, Prizes and Awards Officer, and to Associate Vice Principal Research, Nancy Ross. I'd also like to thank the communications team in my office and McGill's Multimedia Services for all their hard work producing this virtual Bravo. Thank you for joining us tonight, and please enjoy the rest of the broadcast. Je vous souhaite une excellente soirée.
Take one.
Please.
25 years from now is a really long time into the future.
In my field, we are headed for some challenging times.
And some of the subject materials we work on are some of the wickedest problems that humanity is facing now.
We need to change the way we build houses. We need to change the way we structure cities.
We are experiencing a great revolution in technologies.
Understanding how organisms adapt to climate change.
To find more spaces for Indigenous languages to be spoken.
You're familiar with the Star Trek idea where Bones puts the tricorder on the patient's neck and then has everything about that patient and can prescribe a customized intervention. Well, essentially, that's where we are going.
AI will play a much more important role in education.
I see a more hopeful direction.
Digital medicine will then become the great equalizer.
We've only seen about this much of the universe, and that's what we want to change.
Pretty sure we will do several takes on this.
Take 517.
Take two. I have to restart it.
There might be one word that I want to get in there.
My last line was not good though.
Bingo.
Yeah, that was great.
Really good, yeah.
And of course, I believe that every laboratory 25 years from now will have a small dog